Our new council and returning councillors, new mayor, and friends and family and staff to the inaugural council meeting of October 27, 2022. It is a memorable moment, starting a new triennium. Prior to this meeting, we had a farewell to the two councillors that didn't make it to this triennium council, and they had a very gracious send-off. So appreciate the work that they've done the last one of the 9 years. We'll start with the Caribbean.
Cease the winds from the west, cease the winds from the south. Let the breeze blow over the land, let the breeze blow over the ocean. Let the red-tipped dawn come with a sharpened ear, a touch of frost, a promise of a glorious day.
On the next part of the agenda, I have a welcome speech to give to the council. Good afternoon, councillors. It's my pleasure to welcome the newly elected mayor and members of the Western District Council to the inaugural council meeting. I hope that you find your time on council enjoyable and to make a positive impact for the local community. As some of the members will know, the last triennium brought the beginning of a lot of change for local government in New Zealand. This current triennium will embed much of that change, with more underway. It will be a very exciting and challenging for the new council as you lead the community through these major reforms. It is not always easy to be an elected member. There are many competing priorities from around the council table, in the community and from central government. Your community trusts you to make the right decisions for them, focusing not just on the present, but what will benefit the community in the long term. The day-to-day basics are important, but so is the vision for the future to ensure that Westland is a place where people want to live and to thrive. Councils are tasked with legislation with promoting the four well-beings: economic, social, cultural, and environmental. In many ways, these are interlinked with each other and make up the broader picture of what communities are all about. A modern council is about more than just filling potholes and collecting rubbish. It is about building and maintaining communities and connections. Western District is possibly one of the most challenging districts in the country. The distance that people have to travel to support the infrastructure is quite significant. The infrastructure and communities that council support is spread over more than 400 kilometres, and each town and village has different needs and desires. Over the past triennium, we've spread our spending across the district, particularly in regards to external funding via Three Waters Reform Funding, which brought new water infrastructure, provincial growth funds, and shovel-ready projects. We will continue to encourage you as council and the communities you represent to have medium and long-term goals and to plan ways to make those aspirations happen. One of the main challenges that council faces goes hand in hand with how spread out our communities are. The ratepayer base is very small, as we all know. All the landscape and communities attract people to visit, and some do return to live. It does not increase the ratepayer base in any significant way. The council has to offer many of the same services and infrastructure as a council in a large town or city, but we do not have the numbers of people to pay for them. This creates a tension between what the community can afford and the levels of service that can be offered. Where possible, previous councils have used government funding to offset costs to ratepayers, especially for large infrastructure projects. Funding from the government to reduce the impact of Three Waters reform will be hugely beneficial to the district, and there will be some decisions for this council to make when tranche 2 funding becomes available on the 1st of July 2024. Some of the first tranche funding target community resilience to enable communities to help themselves in the event of any natural disaster. This is still work to be done to aid the community resilience, and the threat of the alpine fault and the effects of climate change still remains very active today. There is an expectation at national level that councils will be placing more emphasis on planning in their communities to the effects of climate change. All of this must be considered when making decisions around infrastructure and core service projects. Our most recent long-term plan increased the focus on vulnerabilities caused by climate change to townships throughout the district, particularly in areas of drinking water and land transport network. However, council will need to continue to lobby the government for support to ensure government strategies do not have serious negative impacts on Westland. Actions such as reconsidering the Waitaha hydro scheme will have a positive impact on both Westland and government's goals to reduce climate change and increase resilience. With the opening of the borders, I am looking forward to seeing our small towns buzzing with visitors and new employees for local business. In time, I'm sure that this will bring growth to the district and will help the vitality important to emergency services volunteer base return to full strength. Three Waters reform is still a significant issue for Westland District Council. These services are critical to the well-being of our communities and are a major part of Council's asset base. Your predecessors disagreed with government's reform proposals and joined Committees for Local Democracy to challenge the governments to rethink the process of the reform. If the current bill to replace governance of Three Waters infrastructure goes ahead, Council will need to ensure that Westland is represented in the regional representative groups and the district concerns and desires are communicated. Impacts of the reform are already being felt by staff, and they are responding to large information requests, dealing with introduction of new water regulations, working on the Three Waters stimulus funding, while also undertaking Three Waters on a day-to-day basis as usual work. Current processes to overhaul the Resource Management Act system will also need to be considered. None of the proposed bills have been introduced to Parliament, but the Natural Environments and Strategic Planning bills are expected to be introduced soon. Looking ahead, the ministerial inquiry into the future of local government. The panel was expected to release their draft report and recommendations in November. This review revolves around strengthening local democracy, stronger focus on well-being, relationships with Māori, partnership between central and local government, and more equitable funding. The reform of both the resource management system and any decision around that the government makes based on the final report of the inquiry into the future of local government may change Council's role, functions and structure, decisions making, operations and investment priorities. Financially, all of these taken together, Three Waters reform, Resource Management Act reform, and the future of local government reform are likely to impact Council and its decision making. In our recent long-term plan, core services were prioritised and the cost of projects balanced against the risk of inaction against such a failure of assets. We know that Council will continue to make investment, but it remains to be seen what further support the government will provide in transitions as they occur. Council's financial strategy is prudent management of council finances that recognises that there has been previous underfunding of services to keep rates low. Future increases need to fund the actual cost of paying for services in the most cost-effective way. Where possible, we will work with other councils around the region in co-shared arrangements to provide cost savings and efficiencies for ratepayers. We also work collaboratively with other regional neighbours on capital projects where a regional approach can be taken to reduce costs and address environmental issues. The majority of debt that is planned over the next 3 years for 3 waters, land transport and solid waste infrastructure, with small amounts for leisure activities facilities. Increasing compliance with legislation requires council to undertake upgrades and enhancements to current assets, which will support any growth in the district of tourism and population. It is not planned to be funded from operating costs. Planned to fund operating costs, sorry. Hope that gives you a good understanding of council's current position and what we can expect in the future. I would encourage you all to review the summary presentation provided at the September council meeting for the last 3 years of activity, which a lot was achieved as a council, and I'm sure the next 3 years will be just as busy, if not more so. There's a lot of change to contend with and to lead the community through. At the end of the 3-year term, the infrastructure that we manage and the focus of council's services might be very different than what we start with today. I look forward to working with you all and as we navigate our way through these changes. Thank you very much. I would like to take us through our first report of council, which is obviously making and attesting the declaration of mayor and councillors. So without any further ado, I would invite Helen up here to take over the chair. So Helen, congratulations and welcome. First of all, let me give you the official photo of this. Sure. Congratulations. A little bit of paper here to sign, so as you go through the file. Okay.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome to you all, staff, family and friends, joining us on this special occasion today that have been officially sworn into council. To Di Maitland, who has served as council for 39 years, and I believe this is her first swearing in that she's ever missed. I know that you're with us in spirit and on Zoom, so hi Di. To be sworn in today as the Mayor of Westland, to now officially represent you and be charged to lead this region is an incredible honour and privilege to me. It's a responsibility I take very seriously and one that I will uphold in all honesty and integrity. Firstly, I would like to take this opportunity to formally thank those that participated in this year's local body election, both by voting and by standing for council. I believe we have a very good solid team in this newly appointed council, diverse by age, background and skill base. All of us united by deep passion for the betterment of our region and its communities. This passion is equally shared by our iwi, whose representatives we sit with today. To my new council, I thank you for putting yourselves forward to serve your communities, and I look forward to working positively and collaboratively with you all. We have exciting times ahead and we have difficult times ahead, but I'm quite sure we'll manage it all. We will aspire to see our region develop as a strong, safe and vibrant place to live and to return home to. My focus as your mayor will be to lead a proactive, united council who listens to and serves its people well, who communicates with its communities inclusively, and advocates for the region collectively. We will be prudent in our financial governance, responsible in our decision making, while being open to challenges as they arise. The previous council achieved a significant volume of work in their triennium. The 3-year term featured a diverse program of change, which will continue through our triennium, potentially escalating what is coming and what we must work our way through. But with change, we must ensure the fundamental base to which the change is driven does not undermine our future and what we value as a region. Change must sit favourably with our region's economy and be of benefit to the growth of our communities and our people. Our role as your council comes with a legal obligation to fulfil the statutory duties of council. And these words will be the base to which we work from, and they will guide us in ensuring we meet the high level of trust placed on us as your elected members. To me, it is about the people, the communities, our region, and it is our honour to serve you all. And the Hinui. So firstly, I would like to call up Stephen Beck, please. We're swearing in.
Always do stream
Sorry, you was it. Then you need to be there, I'm going to read it. What a way to start. Thank you, Simon. So we're just going to reverse back now, and I'm going to do my declaration. This is under the Local Government Act, Schedule 7, Part 1, Section 483, Declaration by the Mayor. I, Helen Margaret Lash, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interest of the Western District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as Mayor of the Western District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 and any other act. Thank you. Stephen, I can ask you to.
I, Stephen Gillett, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of the Western District the powers, authorities, and duties vested in or imposed upon me as Councillor of the Western District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, and the other act.
Thank you. If I can get you to sign your place. And I now invite you to make your speech, please.
Thank you. I'm going to reflect upon some of the commentary I had during my campaign. So, pick this up. Good afternoon. Firstly, I'd like to thank all those who supported me in being here today. I raised some important issues during the election campaign that resonated with many in the community, and that frames a lot of what I have to say today. 801 people voted for me, but only one of those votes was from me. Being here is not about me, but about the 800 others that voted for me, plus the hundreds that voted for the other councillors sitting here today, who made it clear they wanted a change. They told me that they had enough of the shambles of the previous 2 terms of council, a well-known list of issues that was agenda generally the public. So as a result, we have an all-time low community engagement rating of 36%, and this needs to change with this new council. There has to be a culture change in putting the community first. It needs to permeate through the whole of this council organisation. I believe that a council's core functions consist of infrastructure and community, not property development, not events, not business development. This will frame how I approach my term in council. That is what I've been told to do by the community. There are some important issues that need to be addressed during this council term. Since Paki Waitara was purchased 2 years ago, council is still debating what to do with it. It's not suitable in its current form as a replacement of council headquarters, so about a massive amount of investment. Property has a lot of potential, but comes with a lot of risk, and really requires skills and experience property developer. This council is not yet developed, and I believe the whole meeting would be huge, so the money is just here. The current LTP is now unworkable. 13% budget rate rise this year has already been reduced, and it's pretty clear from the selection committee has no appetite for 12 to 10% rate rises on the plan for next year and the year after. The LTP is due to be revisited next year, and the plan needs to be completely reworked. Rates are already at a maximum affordable level for many in the community. So we've got to do a better job on a realistic plan that brings the community along in its creation. I also received a lot of comment about our CCOs. These structures can provide cost and efficiency benefits if the scale of operation is big enough. But I believe the exact opposite is happening in Westland. The board of our CCOs will point to more than acceptable financial performance, but in reality, I believe that our ratepayers are subsidising our CCOs' performance by paying far more for the services they provide than we would do without. So we need to rethink whether we're getting any value from these CCOs. Are there any worthwhile changes that can be made, and should we even have more, as many other councils around the country are now considering? Now, finally, I received the most feedback from replacing the Derrick playground in Cassware. We don't know the expensive Margaret Mahi playground, but one that is high quality, fun and safe. It's already budgeted for, so we should just get on and replace it now. Also, I'd like to bring back the Sunset Point Lookout Tower. It was unceremoniously removed a few years ago with the promise that it would be returned. I believe that once we get that tower back up, we'll be able to once again see what a wonderful place this really is. Thank you.
Councillor Casey, please.
I, Ashley Thomas Kesson, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interest of Western District Council, Western District, the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as Councillor of the Western District Council. By virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, and any other act. Tēnā koutou katoa, ka mihi tuatahi ki te mana whenua o tēnei takiwā. Ko tēnei te mihi. Ko wai tēnei, ko Dean tuku papa, ko Christine tuku mama, ko Ashley Kesson tuku ingoa. Nā oko matua ko Ngāti Arini te iwi. Ko Tītai Potini ahau. Ko Charlotte tuku wahine atahua. Ko Obi tuku tanga piripaura. Ki kaikau ni hira ahau mō te kahui o Potini. Ka nui te mihi kia koutou. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. For those that didn't follow my mihi was to acknowledge our local mana whenua of the West Coast and introduce myself. Paying tribute to where my inspiration for setting my community comes from, which is my parents, Dan and Christine, who have dedicated most to both of their lives to serving their communities. Highlighting my lineage back to Ireland and also that we now choose to call the coast home. Introducing my beautiful wife Charlotte, who's in the room today, and our son who's currently having a sleep, but otherwise would have been in the room with us too. And proudly stating that I'm now a councillor of Western District Council. We've only got 3 minutes today, so I'll try and keep it brief or do my best to keep the time anyway. I'll try. My campaign was centred on my fundamental 5, ultimately with the promise of no bullshit electionary promises. That one's now behind us, so it's the other 4 that are core to me achieving what I've set out to over the next 3 years. There's a promise to bring my passion, energy and experience to serve a full 3-year term for the of South Westland. Asking the hard questions, having the tough conversations to ensure the right answers are given and the right actions are taken. Ensuring open, honest, two-way communication with ratepayers in our communities that creates more transparency and accountability, whilst also keeping the people of Western District Council, more informed. And finally, Westland extends south of both the Hokitika and Waitara rivers, embracing all of South Westland, the whole way down to Big Bay, and giving each of the communities along and off-state Highway 6 a fair go. It'll be nice to see some council meetings down that way as well. We'll work on that as we go. It is well documented, we've already heard a couple of times today, that this training could be one for the ages, centred on the challenges and changes that are here now, those on the horizon, and those just around the corner. With challenges comes opportunity, and we need to be ready to capitalise on those when they present themselves. My first step is in building new relationships and further developing existing relationships within the Southern Ward to ensure the voice of the people I represent are heard around this table. My training and hopes are simple, that we leave Western District Council in a better space than we inherited it, that we celebrate the things worthy of it, and we learn from the things not worthy of celebrating. And finally, a chance to say thank you to those that enabled me to be here as a councillor today, to those that suggested and encouraged I ran, those that nominated me, those that supported my campaign, ultimately those who voted for me, as well as those that will support me over the next 3 years, both at home, work, and in general. Thank you.
Councillor Davidson, please.
Thank you. I call Gregory Davidson to declare that I will faithfully and impartially, in accordance with the best skill and judgment, execute and perform to the best interest of the Western District, powers, the authority, and the duties vested in and imposed upon me as councillor of the Western District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, and any other act.
Thank you.
Right, good afternoon. What I have to say is not going to take 3 minutes, but it is serious. Firstly, I would like to thank all those who re-elected me to council for a second term. Over the last triennium, one thing that stood above all was that the Western District communities are spread over hundreds of kilometres, and some of these communities can be easily neglected and also become isolated through natural disaster. Our district is very long, but our ratepayer base is very small. Western District relies heavily on external funding, and we must continue to work alongside other parties for this ongoing external funding. I believe the future proofing of our communities against the impact of climate change. I intend to pursue getting the consent process underway for seawall and river protection to the people of Hokitika and its community. There's been too much procrastination on this project, and if Westland loses its government funding, the cost will fall back on the local ratepayer. Another project that I will be heavily involved with is the West Coast Wilderness Cycle Trail. The cycle trail provides new business opportunities and generates hugely to the West Coast economy. I will continue my support, working alongside key stakeholders, providing guidance on future strategies for the West Coast Wilderness Trail. This triennium, I look forward to work together, building stronger relationships with our partners and communities throughout Western. Thank you.
Councillor Reid, please.
I, Donna Michelle Beard, declare that I will faithfully and impartially, and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interests of Western District, the powers, authorities, and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a councillor of the Western District Council. By virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, and any other act. As an elected councillor for Hokitika Ward, I feel very humble and proud. It is a great privilege to stand here today in front of Mayor Helen Leach, fellow councillors, senior staff and family. Having entrepreneurial skills helps me to have the confidence, vision and motivation. Add to all of that passion with the drive to serve you, the people of Westland. We as a team need to be the council that makes a real difference, mending and building relationships while making sure we deliver the right results for the residents of Westland. I look at this as an opportunity to serve with integrity, professionalism, with accountability and transparency. As a councillor or councillors, we need to earn trust and have stability. Mistakes have been made in the past with communication and we need to learn from this. There will be some major changes ahead with the Three Waters reform, TPP, climate change, etc. As a team, we will face them together. This term will allow me to integrate my values and build my region's trust. Yet to some degree, it's also a time of learning and growing for me. I don't just intend to serve for 3 years, but deliver for at least 9. I'm really looking forward to this chapter in my life and brighter days lie ahead. In the words of Nelson Mandela, it's not because things are difficult that we do not dare, it's because we do not dare that are difficult.
Councillor Manera, please.
I, Brian Joseph Manera, fear that I will faithfully and impartially be according to the best of my skills and judgment, execute and perform the best interests of this district, powers, authorities, and duties vested in or imposed on me as councillor of the Western District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information Meetings Act 1987.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank my campaign team and the voters. I took some the other day, Di's brother. I was very impressed with Di, he's been here so long and it's a great thing for council. Simon, I didn't realise how much you do, he helped us South West and get ahead, so I appreciate that too. I don't think many people realise how much you actually do in the place. Sure. Yeah, well, it's nice, mate. So yeah, one thing that I like to do is cell phone coverage and internet for South Western. Main Street of Harry.
Outside your home.
The medical centre's got no cell phone. The pub's got no cell phone. The shop's got none. And neither is the motels. And the local council has an either. So.
Sounds like most.
Yeah. So that's one thing I like to do. I want to talk and work actually together. Do it for South Western. So that's about all.
Councillor Neil, please.
I, Jane Allison Neal, declare that I will faithfully, impartially, and according to the best of my skill and judgment, execute and perform in the best interest of the Western District the powers, authorities, and duties vested in or imposed upon me as councillor of the Western District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002, the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987, and any other act. Mayor, EBU, councillor and Paul, councillors, staff, visitors. There's a proverb, if you want to go quickly, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And my hopes for this training year are that we form a solid collaborative group who can take some robust, respectful discussions, both amongst ourselves and with our communities, to better define how we will look in the future and to better plan the steps and pathway that will get us there. There are several layers of influence to consider as we plan. Globally, we've got climate change, we've got the economies, sustainability, and potential warfare and epidemics. Nationally, we will receive direction around local body reforms of the Resource Management Act and Clean Waters. Locally, we have far-reaching decisions to make around council assets, such as this building, Paki Waitara, the racecourse, the upcoming wastewater treatment plant, and the TTPP. And finally, on the smaller but no less important scale, we have the needs and dreams of our many small communities from Aotearoa to Jackson's Bay.
Councillor Burgess, please.
I, Riley John Burdon, declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and judgment execute and perform in the best interests of the Western District the powers, authorities and duties vested in or imposed upon me as a councillor of the Western District Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002 and the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 and any other act.
You copy this.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd just like to thank the 976 people in the Northern Ward that voted me and elected me to be their representative here on the Western District Council. I was privileged to grow up in a family where community involvement is very strong, and I believe that's what's got me to where I am today. I have strong community connections, and I see my seat on council as an extension of that, that community involvement. Looking to the future, I believe we need to be a bold and decisive council, prepared to make the hard decisions, but not only to ensure that the bold decisions. Prepared to make the hard decisions, but also to ensure that the best decisions for the future of Westland. We need to be a council who works with our communities, not against them, and I think we have a great team around the council to take Westland forward.
So just before we conclude that part, can I please have somebody move and second? Ashley, move. Can I have a seconder, please? Riley, thank you. So that's resolved that the report be received for the attestation and declaration, and that the mayor and elected members have publicly made their declarations. Thank you for that, Councillor Casson and Burden. The next point on the agenda is the appointment of the Deputy Mayor. The Chief Executive, Simon Bastian, will speak to this report.
You're going to get sick of my voice by the end of today because a lot of the reports, in fact, all of the reports here are just set the Inaugural Council up. So I apologise in advance, but bear with me. So the first report we have in front of you is the appointment of the Deputy Mayor. As you all know, the Mayor has acted on her powers under the Section 41A Roles and Powers of the Mayor, Local Government Act 2002, to appoint Steve Glenn as Deputy Mayor. So I'll take the report as read and happy to take you for anyone to move it.
Thank you, Jane. Councillor Neil, Councillor Beard for moving and seconding that. And resolved that the report to council appointment of deputy mayor be received. The next point on the agenda is the standing orders, and again, Chief Executive Simon Bash will speak to this report.
The purpose of this report, council, is in accordance with the Local Government Act. A local authority must adopt a set of standing orders for the conduct of the proceedings of local government authorities, any committees, subcommittees, subordinate decision-making bodies, and local community boards. The local government NZ have reviewed the previous triennium's standing orders. This is a national review, and promoted a new set of standing orders. So I'll take the report. I understand it's quite a large piece of work, but I'll take it as read and just want to highlight the changes that we're proposing as part of the LGNZ new format. So in regards to section 15, public forums, we're looking to remove the standing orders to provide a period of 30 minutes or longer, as agreed by the chairful members of the public to address the meeting, and replace it with that the standing orders provide the mayor with the discretion to add an agenda item for public discussion. The applicant who wishes to seek must advise the mayor 7 working days prior to the meeting date. The mayor has full discretion to approve or not approve the applicant's request. That gives council staff the ability to do any research that is required based on that public request and provide council with some background information as required. Section 13.7, the right to attend by audio and audio-visual link. That the standing orders enables members to join meetings by audio-visual link, noting that the members joining by audio-visual link cannot be counted for purposes of a quorum. And that ability has been removed with the rescinding of the COVID legislation. This refers to clause 25A, section 7 of the Local Government Act 2002. Section 19.3, Mayor's casting vote. Discussion with your worship that the chair not be given the option of casting vote. Obviously, we have potentially, if there was a 4-4 split within the council laws, it's better to work through that division rather than the mayor casting a vote. So the mayor's taking that approach. Section 22.1, options for speaking and moving options. There were 3 options provided in the standing orders. Recommendation that council adopts the default position on speaking and moving motions as follows, which is option B within the document in the appendix, or limiting the ability of movers and seconders of motions to move amendments. This allows members further flexibility and allows, regardless of whether they've spoken for motion or motion, substitute motion, to move and second an amendment. So happy to take any questions on that report and wish. Any questions?
It was recommended in the standing orders that they are adopted a bit later in the term, once, especially with new councillors, have had the opportunity to become more familiar with the system. Can you just assure us that there is still the opportunity to change standing orders should councillors wish to?
Yes, there is.
Yes.
If there's any variation that council isn't happy with, obviously through quorum, to make sure that it is actually something that council wants to revisit, there is the opportunity to revisit the standing orders.
Thank you. And just one query about the timing for the public forum. That means that they need to ask permission to speak before the agenda comes out.
Yes.
What if they wish to speak to something in the agenda that they're not aware of being in the agenda? So the agenda comes out and they go, I really want to speak to that.
They won't be familiar with what the agenda is at that point, because the agenda won't be out. So this is, so they have the ability to address council if the mayor wishes that to happen. But they won't be familiar with what the agenda actually is until the agenda comes out. If it's a topic within the agenda item, then the mayor may allow someone to speak on to that report.
Even if it's less than 7 days out.
But it also gives counties, correct, it gives council staff the ability to understand what their discussion point is, so that we can ensure we have that potentially addressed in the report anyway.
Thank you.
Any other questions on standing orders?
I have a mover and second, sorry.
Sorry, yeah, just on that casting vote, could you just run us past that again?
So, in discussion with the workshop, so we felt that if there was a split between 4 and 4 between the councillors in terms of voting, obviously that's not optimal. We need to understand why there's a discrepancy between council, and it's better to work through an issue to get some consensus in terms of numbers around the table.
Is that for any person chairing a meeting?
Yes, there will also be in committees as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So the same analogy, cover all subcommittees and committees of council.
If I can comment there, is that my sentiment was that if we are in a 4-4 balance, we do need to do more work on it.
Yes,
We need to ask more questions, get more information, so that when we do make a decision, it's a very balanced decision, not a tight one.
And address any concerns on either side of the argument. Fine, and may require coming back with another report to council with those investigated.
Thank you.
Can I somebody please move and second? Thank you, Councillor Gillett. Another seconder. Thank you, Councillor Neil. And resolved that the report be received and council adopts a revised LGNZ template for Western District Council standing orders with the attached amendments. Next on the agenda is the code of conduct, and again, Executive Simon to speak to this report. 290. That one either.
54.
Sorry, 54. Three.
Yeah.
Thank you, Richard. The purpose of this report is to re-adopt the revised elected members code of conduct for Western District Council. This is obviously sets down the ground rules for interaction and obviously talks about the various changes that LGNZ has proposed in an updated version of. So in terms of the changes that have been proposed by local government to the standing document, talks about, gives an explicit description of unacceptable behaviours, an acknowledgement of the Tauriti o Waitangi as a foundation document for Aotearoa New Zealand, and a description of Tauriti principles and how they apply to council, an acknowledgement of the principles of good governance, the Inaugural principles as a term, drawn from the UK Government's Committee on Standards for Public Life and Finance of the 1994 Moral Inquiry, an amended approach to investigating and assessing alleged breaches designed to ensure that the process for is independent and focused on serious rather than minor or trivial complaints. I'm happy to take any questions on the code of conduct.
Is everybody quite happy with that? And yeah, there's more information and more reading available for any of the new councillors to get themselves a bit more familiar with these documents. So can I have somebody please move and second? Yes, please, Councillor Neil, Councillor Kesson, thank you. So we hereby resolve that the report be received and that council adopt the elected members' code of conduct, including the policy for assessing breaches of the code of conduct as produced by LGNZ. Thank you for that. Declarations, conflicts of interest, please, Simon.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's fine. The purpose of this report is to inform members about following declarations of interest statement. So we're required legislatively to advise incoming elected members of the new triennium about conflicts of interest. And this has been highlighted as part of the prior induction program. Any member that has received or personal interests must declare them to council, and obviously not be involved in any decision making that they have potential influence over. There's obviously impact of potential on the council if that has happened, particularly around reputation, and there's also a potential legal risk if a contract, for example, has been awarded to a contractor and someone had the ability to influence that prior to that report being passed. So I'm happy to take any questions on that. And just to remind councillors, there is a form here that needs to be filled out, declaring those previous councillors that have done it don't need to do it again. We've got that history already.
Everybody happy with that? Can I please have somebody to move and second? Councillor Baird? Sorry. Sorry. It's stupid. Yeah, okay. Right, so we resolve that the report for declarations conflicts of interest be received. And Simon, sorry, Chief Executive Simon Bastian, please. Now the legislation affecting members report.
So, councillors, the purpose of this report is to summarise key legislation that affects elected members. I'll take the report as read, but just would like to go through and highlight those various parts of legislation. We obviously have the Local Government Act. We have the Local Government Act 1974, which is to do with the road, primary road infrastructure. Crimes Act 1961. Secret Commissions Act 1910. Financial Markets Conduct Act 2013. Local Authorities and Members Interest Act 1968. Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987. Health and Safety at Work Act 2015. Protected Disclosures Act 2000. Financial Markets Conduct Act 2013. Resource Management Act 1991. Local Electoral Act 2001. Local Government Rating Act 2002. And Te Turu Whenua Maori Act 1993. Sorry for the pronunciation. We're taking questions on that. You're not expected, councillors, to know all the acts in detail, but you are meant to know that they have an impact on the way council operates and the outcomes of council.
Can I please have a mover and a seconder for the report? Thank you, Councillor Casson. The second, please, Councillor Baird. And we resolve that the report be received. Thank you very much. Item 10, structure of council committees. Chief Executive Simon Bastian, please.
Thank you, Elizabeth, again. The purpose of this report is to inform council that the mayor has exercised powers under section 41A, role and powers of the mayor, Local Government Act 2002, for the establishment of committees for 2023-25 triennium. You will see this is vastly different from the previous triennium. It's fair to say that we had a lot of committee structures, and a lot of the information that was being provided was for understanding only, information only. There weren't a lot of reports in some of the committees for resolution. Some of the reports were repeated in numerous forums. So we, working with the mayor, felt that a lot of the information should be shared with full council rather than trying to put it through a committee and then still coming to council for further consideration. So the committee structure being proposed for this triennium sees only 2 standing committees. That being the Risk and Assurance Committee, which will have an independent chair, and the C is Review and Performance Committee. There will be two subcommittees of council, that being the Wastewater Treatment Plant Hokitika project and also the cycling and walking subcommittee of council. There's also a subcommittee of risk and assurance, which will be an attendance committee, which will be only required as required, depending on projects that fall under the $500,000 price cap. Any project of significance, i.e. anything greater than 500,000 will come to full council for discussion and approval. Happy to take any questions on the proposed structure. Obviously, also just to highlight that the Mayor has made allocations, then she's talked to committee members in terms of which allocation of duties lies with the next member.
So can I please have somebody move and second? Councillor Gillette. Councillor Beard, thank you very much. So we'll resolve that the report be received. 2, that council adopts the committee structure and membership as outlined in Appendix 1 of the report. 3, that council adopts the proposed meeting schedule for January 2023 to December 2023 as provided in Appendix 2 of the report. Thank you for that, Simon. Right, next on the agenda list is elected members' remuneration. And again, Chief Executive Simon Bastian will speak to this report.
And this is one that usually gets a lot of airtime. Just to highlight, primary purpose of this report is to advise elected members of the remuneration pool. The Mayor's remuneration is determined by the Remuneration Authority for the period beginning 1st of July 2022 through to 30th of June 2023. So just bear in mind that this pool is not anything that council has. The total pool fund needs to be fully spent. It's actually caretaken by the Remuneration Authority, and the Mayor's salary is already predetermined by the Remuneration Authority as well. So the classification has been highlighted in the table that council can see, whereby Mayor annual remuneration is 105,174. The Deputy Mayor 63,449, and the councillors times 7 is 26,522. I'm happy to take any questions or wish on that report.
Don't like discussing money, but why has the deputy mayor increase, all due respect, Stephen, gone up by 45% and the councillors by 14%? And would it not have been better to have done it more across the board, a more even percentage increase?
The primary factor in terms of the remuneration is that the chair roles aren't being allocated this year. So the function of the deputy mayor has a lot more responsibility than the previous. Before we had 2 chairs also running committee members, committee meetings.
That also gives more responsibility to
Yes,
councillors. I don't know. I don't know what other councillors say.
So is the deputy mayor going to be chairing all those committees that people work?
No.
So is there additional responsibility there to that 45% increase? Like it's
wouldn't say there's additional responsibility other than
it just seems a little bit straight.
What I will, perhaps if I can comment into here, Simon, is that to me, in my position as mayor and what we've got coming in the way of reforms, reviews, our day-to-day council business, and in the sort of the rebuilding of the relationship between council and our communities, and the different scope that may come at us with the local government review and how we perform and what we're charged to do. I do see that my expectation in the role of the deputy is going to be increased quite considerably. And I do think to be effective as mayor, if I can charge Stephen if I can charge the deputy mayor with certain areas to manage, take care of, I can be given full focus to other aspects of it. What worries me with what we've got coming ahead of us is that if my time's diluted too much, you get that ineffectiveness coming into it, and I don't want to see that happen. I also want to make sure that you as council are always continuously up to speed and informed, and I think that would just be expecting a little bit too much from me to cover everything. So I will have an expected increase in the deputy mayor's performance and what they're charged with in their role this time.
So just another comment on that. There is a bit of understanding. So the previous deputy mayor also was a chair of, so they got additional fund as being chair. In that time, obviously that came off. His deputy mayor role was reduced to account for the chairing role as well. So when we took the chairing roles away, this trainee shows a marked increase, where actually he would have been paid more than the previous trainee. This sort of offsets it quite considerably.
Through the chair.
Yes.
The independent chair, do they get paid at all?
Yes, they do receive a remuneration. It doesn't come out of this remuneration fund.
Oh, thank you. So where does it come from?
It comes from the electoral, the budgeted cost, so not from the remuneration fund. So it comes out of ratepayer fund.
Ratepayers. Roughly, any idea what that would be?
I don't have it at the top of my head. I can find that out from previous.
Thank you.
Through worship, 14% increase for councillors in a trying time for me out there doing it on the grind. Do they give me justification for the increase in the pool? Or is it
Nationally?
Yeah.
No, I don't have that information. Obviously, a lot of research has been done in terms of national-wide fund increases. How it's done just for Westland in terms of total remuneration increase, I don't have that number right, I'm afraid. 246 from previous 226, it's only gone up 20,000 in total across the whole of Westland. It's a 10% increase.
There are surveys that you get asked to fill out as councillors relating to how much time and so on like that. And I would imagine there's a huge diverse range of that, but they do nationally gather those figures, which may have some bearing.
I think Councillor Coburn from the last training working on about $2 an hour rate in terms of the amount of time versus their salary.
We're up to 220 now.
So obviously it's a commitment from council, obviously, but the amount of workload that has gone in, particularly from external legislation change, the amount of workshops we've been having previously just to address some of those concerns has put a lot of onus on council's time and time commitment to actually understand it.
Thank you, Simon. Can I have somebody that would be happy to move this motion, please? And second it. That's Lillian. Do we have a seconder?
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Lera. So we resolve that council receives the elected members' remuneration report and that council advise the remuneration authority of the changes to the committee structure and the proposed allocation of the remuneration pool. Thank you, everybody, for that.
Just a reminder, Your Worship, that the bank account details, we need those today if you want to get paid on Monday. So if you haven't filled it out, please do so before you leave today.
Right, and the last item on the agenda is proposed schedule of ordinary meetings for November, December 2022. Again, pass to Simon to speak to this, please.
Yes, this is just to finalise the last two council meetings of this year. As you can see, there's two dates, 24th of November and the 8th of December, very short turnaround for the second one. We are proposing, as you've seen in the calendar for next year, that the December meeting will be a week later. This calendar was set previous training council, just seeking out support for these final two meetings.
Everybody happy with that? Any questions on that? No, can I please have somebody move? Thank you, Councillor Neal. Councillor Burden, seconded and resolved that the report be received and that council adopts the schedule of meetings for the remainder of 2022 as follows: 24th of November at 1 p.m. the council meeting, and 8th of December council meeting again at 1 p.m. So with that, we've come to the close of the meeting. One thing I will just make a quick comment on, just to help put the terminologies at the table at ease, is when you go to speak, just so through the chair and then just your worship. And that just keeps it, if everybody's on the same track, then we'll keep up to speed with how we direct things at the table. Keep it clean, keep it tidy. Thank you. So with that, it's 7 minutes past 2. Have you got anything else?
Set a record for the training.
7 minutes past 2, we will declare the meeting closed.